Good morning, everybody. The 6 finalists for the EYRA Prize and our audience. My name is Sven Erik Larsen. I am from Aarhus University in Denmark, and I've had the pleasure to chair the EYRA committee, where we have selected you. And we're very proud that we have a good distribution across disciplines, and we have a perfect gender balance on top of that. So you have fulfilled all the wishes we could have, also more importantly in terms of scholarship. This session is not as we planned it to be, because we wanted it to be very, very festive for you with a huge roaring crowd in the room. We have tried to make an illusion of that, as you can see in on the central screen. But we will do our best today so you get a very, very good experience of this session. We know you have prepared your PowerPoints well and in time, and we thank you very much for that. The results will be announced later, but the ceremony itself has a high quality because of your input. Before we start the presentations, I will say a few words about the EYRA Prize. And I have a few slides. And please, Matthias, will you show my slide? Yes, the European Young Researcher Award is an award which has been created by EuroScience. And it has been an award which could be applied for both by PhD students or very young candidates across the European continent, not based on nationality, but based on a European affiliation. And the same goes for the postdocs. And it's across all disciplines, as we can see today with the 6 finalists. As it is a prize for a EuroScience, the criteria have not been or will not be the same as if you had applied for funding or maybe for a job, because EuroScience is not an academic academy. It's an association which unites people with an academic background and in academic professions, whether they are in journalism, in research, in private companies, in institutions. And that's why our 4 criteria, which you all have fulfilled excellently, are the following. First of all, of course, research quality, but also a European dimension where we have looked into how your connections, your networks, your engagement have been placed on the European continent. We also want to emphasize what we call project engagement, namely the role you have played in the research environment in which you have worked as a doctoral student or as a postdoc. And finally, we put an emphasis on the outreach. One of the EuroScience big qualities is that we are an association which put an emphasis on research outreach to the larger public, to policymakers, and to everybody who use science and scientific-based knowledge to make decisions in society. We had a jury of 10 academics across the disciplines, and we will later announce 2 winners of the Jury's Prize. And later on, we will have 2 winners of the public prize or the popular prize, which will be based on your presentations and the audience we have with us online, either on Zoom or on YouTube. And the 6 finalists we have selected to compete for the public prize are you, and we will see the names on the next slide. But before I do that, we will have I have the pleasure to thank our sponsors for the prizes you will get. And Elsevier Publishing Company has offered the winners, all 4, 1 year free access to discipline-specific platforms in the Elsevier company, a publication of an article free of charge in a relevant journal within the Elsevier catalog, and consultation with an editor, again in the relevant disciplines for you. And the winners, when we know the disciplines, will have a mail from EuroScience about the contact person. That will happen later. And then Elsevier wants you to be willing to give an interview, which they will circulate on the Elsevier platforms. And as you all know, you have also worked with Impact Science or the Cactus Communication to prepare your presentations, and we are very grateful for the support they in this way have given EuroScience. The Elsevier platforms has been operated by and created by Mendeley. We're very thankful for that, and now we come to the 6 names here in the PhD category in alphabetical order, and that would be the order of your presentations. Also, we have Michael Bossetta, US citizen, who has studied in Denmark and Sweden, political science, media studies. Francisco Valente Gonçalves, studied in UK, he's from Portugal, in psychology. Sofus Helle from Denmark, comparative literature and Assyriology. And in the postdoc category, we have Valentina Sassini, who is studying, has a postdoc in Spain, comes from Italy in chemistry, broad range of chemistry disciplines. And Elaine Toomey from Ireland in health science, and Maria Viñas from Spain in optics and biomedical physics. And with these words, I welcome everybody to the ceremony, and the presentations will be moderated by my colleague here, Stefan Bergman. Please, Stefan.
Thank you very much, Sven-Erik, and very proud and very happy to be the master ceremony for the Popular Prize this year. The European Young Researcher Award. So this year is very special. I'm sure there's going to be glitches, but please all relax. If you're watching or if you are one of the 6 candidates, this is going to be going very smoothly. And we're all very excited to be able to watch you and listen to you and to your research. I can even tell you that at least one of my daughters, I was just on WhatsApp with her, is watching. So there are people out there who are actually watching and who will be voting. You will all now each have 5 minutes, and I'll insist 5 minutes only, to do your presentation. And you will be controlling your own slides. I will be very strict on time, and I will inform you 1 minute before the end so that you know that you have soon to end. I will not hesitate to interrupt you after 5 minutes. So we will start with Michael Bossetta. Michael finished his PhD in political science in 2019 at Copenhagen University in Denmark. He currently holds a Marie Curie postdoc scholarship in literature and languages at Lund University in Sweden. Michael holds a BA in philosophy from Columbia University in the US and an MS in political science from Copenhagen University and an MA in European studies from Lund University. He will now tell us about his research interest. Michael, you have exactly 5 minutes and your time starts now.
All right, let me share my screen here. And thank you so much for everyone tuning in and showing interest in the work that young researchers in Europe are doing. My name is Michael Bossetta. I'm assistant professor in communication and media at Lund University. And this presentation will be about the digital architectures of social media, or how the design features of social media work to shape contemporary democracy. So we've seen the media reporting about how social media has played a role in protests and election and referenda, but we really don't know the extent to which social media is actually shaping the outcome of these events. So this is my academic interest, but personally, I'm interested in social media because it shapes the way that I experience the world every day. Whether that's keeping up with friends on Facebook, getting entertainment through YouTube, getting recipes, for example, on Instagram, and keeping up with the latest news on Twitter. But I know that other people are engaging with multiple social media platforms in different ways. And what I'm interested in is, what is it about social media that influences the way people think and act, particularly when it comes to politics? So the way that I approach this is through a theoretical framework I developed called the Digital Architectures Framework. And digital architectures can be defined as the technical protocols that facilitate, constrain, and shape user behavior in a virtual space. And I identify 4 key elements that all social media platforms share that are crucial to how they're understood in the context of politics. One is the network structure. How are connections between accounts established and maintained? The second is functionality. What are we allowed to do and not allowed to do on social media platforms? Then there's the algorithms. What do they show us? And then what do they not show us? And what implications for politics does this have? And lastly, datafication. How do the data points that we create by engaging with social media platforms, how are those used by political actors or ultimately serving the business models of platforms? So one slice of my research looks at how these architectures can be manipulated. And we've seen this most recently in the case of Russian influence in the 2016 US election. So when one of my studies, I decided to see, how likely are people to actually click on these type of links? All right. Okay. So I created a fake news bot called the DC News Report that was aimed to mimic the layout of the Washington Post. And it sent Twitter users who were either predicted to be left or right wing based on what they've expressed on the platform, this breaking news link that, if clicked, would just lead to a Google form survey about people's social media habits, but it could, in theory, have malicious software that would take over someone's device. And what I found is that 1 in 5 people were likely to click this link, regardless of whether they were left or right wing, or whether they were using a desktop or mobile device, which I think is interesting. 1 in 5 people would actually click this link that had a very simple form of machine learning message generated to it. And I think this has implications for the ways that people are not really paying attention to what they're clicking on social media, and that can actually be used to launch a cyber attack. So I have a little technical trouble here, but so one thing I'm looking at is what are the general steps of a cyber attack? And they generally follow these 5 steps across different social media platforms. One is that foreign actors can collect information that we publicly produce on social media. They construct profiles that appeal to our interest, establish contact with us through various messaging services on the platform, which, if they're laced with malicious software, can compromise our devices that can then be used to message people within our own networks and spread that attack. And you've seen this recently on Twitter, where former President Barack Obama's account was hacked and asking for Bitcoin, but that could have been used to spread malicious software to other heads of state, for example. And that could be used to spread misinformation that might send markets into a downward spiral. So we see how social media is interacting with different elements of human society, but we really don't know the broad implications of what these platforms have for democracies. Most studies are single platform, and they do not compare architectures across platforms. And few scholars are looking at how these architectures can be manipulated by malicious actors to advocate for certain state interests. So the change that I would wish to see is better empirical evidence for tech companies and policymakers to improve platforms towards achieving positive democratic norms. I'd like to see more research on the impact of social media on democracy rather than marketing and economics. I'd like to see platforms used to conduct field experiments in the way that I have done. And we are seeing the first few stepping stones into cross-platform research. So that's it, but I will use this platform quickly to plug my podcast, where if you're interested in the topic, you can find interviews with great political communication scholars and episodes on EU institutional communication. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michael, and thank you very much for keeping to the time. This was perfect. You had actually 11 seconds left. Wonderful.
All right.
Good. So now we go to Francisco Valente Gonçalves. Francisco is finishing his PhD this year in clinical and forensic psychology at Leicester University in the UK. He was a Marie Curie Scholarship Fellow affiliated with the interdisciplinary Intrepid Research Group in Forensic Science in the School of Criminology at Leicester University. He has been engaged in intensive outreach and organizational activities on a European level and has used his research in companies that focus broadly on forensic studies. Francisco, can you please tell us about your research? Your time starts now.
Thank you very much. So my name is Francisco Gonçalves. I'm a clinical and forensic psychologist based in Portugal now. I have always been challenged by social issues such as emotional factors or other issues such as migration, inequalities, either gender inequality or racial inequalities, and for mostly and recently corruption and fraud that one sees in society. Fortunately, I had the opportunity to do my PhD using a Marie Curie fellowship at University of Leicester within the Intrepid Forensics, where I worked doing some lecturing, some prison work in high security prisons, and also closely work with crime scene investigators. And obviously I had funny moments at conference social dinners, but I also had the opportunity to work at crime scene bureaus at international forensic organizations, and also to deliver some training at international conferences such as the Interpol one. From my PhD, I got the focus on cognitive biases, so where people sometimes commit some errors unconsciously, and try to understand how can one mitigate those errors. From some of the experiments that I did, I got the possibility to develop some training. And because I worked with crime scene investigators from 15 bureaus based in 9 countries from 5 different continents, I got also the possibility to develop this training in a way that can be shaped and developed internationally. Obviously, this is something that are some stepping stones, and we are trying to develop new techniques to make the criminal justice system more fair. On the other hand, I also developed this startup on mental health due to some personal issues that I had, and I found the need to have an online therapy platform. So with a colleague of mine, we developed this in 2016, and we got some achievements such as working with people that cannot pay some mental health appointments at a certain period of their lives, or some engagement with private companies. Currently, we are also doing some projects at an European level. One of them is creating an observatorium for academic mental health, and the other one is training for academics to shape and to develop and promote their mental health balance. So far, I had the opportunity to do a number of publications. I also got the fortunate opportunity to receive 2 European awards, MCA Social Impact Award and MSCA Award. Number of grants, but most important, I met a lot of people that helped me shape my ideas and to develop them further. Currently, I'm working at a global company, Ernst & Young, where I'm the first psychologist doing fraud investigation using detection deception strategies. So trying to understand when people lie in a forensic interview. And I'm also using cognition to develop some strategies for compliance programs using artificial intelligence and big data. On the other hand, I'm a non-executive director currently of RUM, and we are keep working with people that cannot pay some mental health appointments, and also getting engagement with some private companies.
1 minute.
On a final note, recently I did a road trip, and I ended up the road trip seeing this movie called Into the Wild, and it got me the message that one needs to share, and Europe and probably the world is now passing a moment where everybody should share either knowledge or experiments, ideas. And I really hope that in the future we can still share, we can keep these kind of moments and share insights in order to develop ideas further. I hope you enjoyed my share, and I'm also happy to share this with you guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Francisco. So now to the last candidate for the PhD category, Sophus Helle. Sophus is still a doctoral student at Aarhus University in Denmark in the School of Culture and Communication Comparative Literature. He holds a BA and an MA in Assyriology from the Copenhagen University and Würzburg University in Germany. Sophus has been a visiting scholar at Columbia University and has also been an invited lecturer at Cambridge University, Vrije University in Germany, and Helsinki University in Finland. He will now take us back in time by telling us about his research. Sophus, your time will start now.
Great. Hello, my name is Sophus Helen, and I just completed a PhD in literary history at the University of Aarhus, Denmark. And in just 7 days from now, I'll be submitting the final manuscript for my book on Gilgamesh, including a new translation of this ancient epic into English. The book builds on 8 years of research on this Babylonian poem, which was written over 3,000 years ago in what is now southern Iraq. Now, you may ask why I've chosen to spend so long reading and writing about a poem from ancient Babylonia. When I began my university studies, I was fascinated by the distant past. I wanted to know what humanity was like at the very beginning of history. But on my travels backwards through time, I got stuck. I reached the Sumerian and Babylonian cultures, and I was captivated by them, especially by their wonderful literature, including Gilgamesh. You may never have heard of Babylonian literature, but in fact, rather a lot of it survives, because the Babylonians wrote their text on clay tablets, which, unlike papyrus, can really survive century after century relatively unaffected. Gilgamesh is told on such clay tablets, which, as you see here, are often fragmentary and difficult to read. But when the tablets have been restored and joined up, they tell an epic story of love and loss. The poem is about Gilgamesh, the mythical king of the city of Uruk. It tells of his deep love for the wild man Enkidu and his equally deep sorrow when Enkidu dies. In his grief, Gilgamesh goes in search of immortality to avoid sharing Enkidu's fate. But he fails, returning to Uruk mortal and empty-handed. His hands may be empty, but his mind is filled with new wisdom, because along the way, Gilgamesh has learned the power of storytelling. So at the very end of the text, he writes down his story and creates the epic that we've been reading all along. So, though he must die, he finds another kind of life in literature. And today, Gilgamesh's story has become wildly popular. It has been adapted into art, music, poetry, theater, video games, sci-fi series, even a restaurant in London, and a crater on Ganymede. In that way, at least, Gilgamesh lives on. So what I find interesting about this modern revival is that though Gilgamesh's story is told again and again, it is told differently each time, because every new reader who encounters the epic seems to relate to it on a personal level in a new way. For some, Gilgamesh is a celebration of the love between men. Some read it as a tale of mourning and grief, perhaps finding their own pain mirrored in the poem. Others sharing Gilgamesh's longing for immortality and his fear of death. And still others, myself included, relate to the hero's constant restlessness, his urge to keep on moving, which the epic calls the storm in his heart. It is also a story about environmental disaster, with eerie parallels to the current climate crisis, as the heroes turn a mighty sacred forest into a wasteland. Last but not least, Gilgamesh fascinates us because it is a story about stories. The poem bites its own tail and reflects on its own existence. We're very used to meta stories in modern literature, but we usually assume that ancient literature was somehow simpler, more naive. Gilgamesh challenges that assumption. It reminds us that humans and storytellers 3,000 years ago were just as complex, intelligent, and self-reflective as we are today. The epic also shows us that books become classics by keeping in dialogue with time. Gilgamesh survives because it interweaves so many themes and topics that every new age can find something new in it to relate to. It is a work of literature that is so rich in topics that it can actually change meaning with the times and with its readers. Finally, those new readers often feel that Gilgamesh is a quintessentially human character.
1 minute.
But he is also 2/3 of a god, 18 feet tall, a mythical king who goes in search of eternal life and fails. Gilgamesh, in short, is a limit test for humanity. What he cannot achieve, none of us will, including immortality. The epic shows that in order to really understand what it means to be human, it may be more fruitful to consider the extreme cases, the limitations, and not least failures that define us. Last year, I published a new Danish translation of the epic with my father, the poet Morten Søndergaard, with one reviewer praising our translation as one of those miracles that makes life worth living. The success of that book emboldened me to also attempt an English translation, which will be published by Yale University Press. And as I said, I'll submit the final manuscript in just 7 days. And more generally, my work on Gilgamesh has led me to reflect on how ancient literature depicts the human being, and that is something I'd like to pursue in my future research. My theory is that ancient ideas about what it means to be human continue to shape our modern understanding of humanity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So this concludes all the 3 presentations that we had from our PhD candidate. So for the popular prize, it's time now for the public to vote. So we're going to now share our screen, and you're going to see the I would ask you to go to menti.com. That's MENTI.com, and type in the code that you see here on the slide. That's 85211666, 85211666. And then you can make your choice from the 3 presentations we've had and the 3 candidates we've had. So please, everybody, do so. I will give you about 3 minutes to do so. Okay, I will do it myself now so that I can start talking to you again. So again, 85211666 on menti.com, and please submit your choice. As a reminder, very quickly, Michael, the very first candidate from Sweden, Lund University, but also from the US on political science and media studies. Francisco, UK and Portugal, talking about psychology, forensic. And then the last one was Sofus Helle from Denmark on comparative literature and Assyriology, talking to us about Gilgamesh and his tale. Okay, let me check the time. Good, you've got about 1 minute and 30 seconds to go. I just want to make sure that everybody has a chance to vote. Good, good numbers here. We do have a lot of people watching, so I'm very happy. Yeah, absolutely. Good. Go on, you can still vote. Menti.com, and then you type in the code 8521166. That's 8521166 in menti.com. Wonderful. You've got about a minute to go now. So please go ahead. And then right after this vote, we will move on to the 3 candidates for the postdoc award. So just wait, this is coming very soon. And while this is happening, a few more seconds for you guys to vote. We've got quite a lot of people, many more than I was expecting, so I'm very happy about this. Wonderful. Great. This is really a popular vote, so it's wonderful. Great. Good. I will conclude the vote now, and I will then go back. And as I was mentioning earlier, we have had now the chance to listen to three gentlemen who were finishing or doing their PhD and telling us about their research. We've been able to vote for the ones we preferred. To keep the gender balance, we're very lucky this year to have actually three women presenting their research for the postdoc candidates. And we will now start. And I repeat, each of them will have 5 minutes to present. I'll be tough on that. And each of the candidates no, in this case, it won't be the case. You will see. They won't all be driving their own slides, but you'll see. I'll still be strict on timing. We will start with Valentina Cecchini. Valentina currently holds a postdoc position in chemistry at Alcalá University in Spain, after having been a Marie Curie postdoctoral fellow at Mons University in my country in Belgium. She defended her PhD in engineering at Perugia University in Italy in 2016. Valentina has a BA and an MA in material science from Cagliari University, Sassari University in Italy, and Menéndez Pelayo University in Spain, where she has also been an assistant researcher in 2017. She will now tell us about her current research interests. Valentina, you have exactly 5 minutes, and your time starts now.
The polymer industry is one of the biggest sources of toxic chemical waste. The uncontrolled use of non-biodegradable plastics puts a huge burden on the environment. And if we don't find effective alternatives now, future generations will bear the brunt of this. Dr. Valentina Cecchini is a scientist who is actively working towards this cause. With a degree in materials science and engineering, Valentina began her research career in 2011. Having realized the importance of green technologies, she joined the International Master Course in Green Chemistry at the University of Sassari, where she was inspired to study biodegradable polymers.
Fascinated by natural material and by introduced to the importance of green chemistry principles as well as of chemical processes and industrial production sustainability, I was convinced that the bio-based and renewable source polymers are the future of plastics.
After pursuing a PhD in smart blends based on natural polymers like starch, she moved to Belgium when she got an opportunity at the University of Mons to develop bio-based free isocyanate polyurethanes with piezoelectric properties. Driven towards green chemistry and bolstered by the European Union's Horizon 2020 Research and Innovation Program under the Marie Slodkowska-Curie grant, she set up the Green Pays project in 2019 with an aim to design novel biopolymers with piezoelectric properties which can recover wasted energy by absorbing mechanical energy and converting it into electric energy. These biopolymers are synthesized using cost-efficient and environment-friendly catalytic methods that can boost their smart properties. The Green Pays project has an end-to-end process, right from designing the catalytic process and synthesizing the biopolymer to developing innovative strategies for its energy harvesting applications. Through this project, Valentina not only paves the way for the development of green technology, but also promotes its use in the real world. Her work has been published in 14 peer-reviewed JRC scientific publications and 6 book chapters.
Looking for new strategies to improve the piezoelectric properties of bio-based polymers, I understood that the effective planification of their molecular structure could be the key to successful energy harvesting application. Inspired by this, I set up the Green Pays project, through which we have been able to propose new promising organometallic catalysts for the cost-efficient and sustainable industrial production of bioplastics.
Valentina believes in the active dissemination of her research to the general public and new generations, with focus on a circular economy in which sustainable technology is integrated into the economic model. She has presented her research in more than 20 national and international congresses.
My research contributes to future social well-being by offering promising solutions to the existing environmental problems due to plastic contamination and climate change. I would like to thank 2020 European Young Researchers Award for nominating me and helping me to promote my research. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Valentina. That was well in time with your video, so that's perfect. Next we go to Elaine Toomey. Elaine is doing a postdoc in health research at the National University of Ireland, Galway, and serves as the Associate Director of the Cochrane, Ireland. She obtained a BS and an MS in physiotherapy at the Limerick University in Ireland. Elaine then defended her PhD thesis in public health and physiotherapy at University College Dublin in 2016. She has been a visiting scholar at Newcastle University in Australia and at Western University and Ottawa Health Research Institute in Canada. Elaine and that's one of the glitches actually for today, has had trouble with her Wi-Fi connection. So she will not be actually sharing her screen. We will be running the slides for her, but she will be speaking without being on the camera to save some of those waves. So please, Elaine, just tell us when you want us to move the slides and we will do so. And I will start the timer as soon as you're ready.
Okay. My name is Elaine Toomey and I'm a lecturer in the University of Limerick in Ireland. And I'm going to speak today about my research, which aims to bridge the gap between science and society by improving health research transparency. Next slide. So human behaviour change is essential for important health and social outcomes, such as changing individual behaviours like physical activity to prevent chronic diseases, or changing healthcare professional or policymaker behaviours to implement best practices. In the current COVID landscape, changing human behaviours like social distancing, hand hygiene and face coverings are some of the most important human behaviours and crucial weapons we have in the fight against COVID-19. Next slide, please. However, it is often difficult to see the impact of interventions or programs targeting human behaviour change. And while we can be quite clear about the exact ingredients and mechanisms of action that happen in pharmaceutical interventions, it's often much more unclear what those mechanisms are in a behavioural intervention. As such, behaviour change interventions are often referred to as a black box. Next slide, please. During my PhD, I worked as part of a larger team on a physiotherapist-delivered intervention looking to change behaviours for people with chronic pain. Click, please. My PhD specifically focused on opening that black box and helped us learn how and why the intervention was implemented as intended and what actually happened in it to enable behaviour change. Click, please. This learning, depicted in the images here, allowed us to maximise our understanding of the intervention and provided us with better transparency to help learn more and make more impact for the intervention itself. Next slide, please. Since completing my PhD in 2016, with European colleagues, I have led on the development of training and guidance for other researchers to improve the fidelity and transparency of behaviour change research. I have received several early career awards for this work. Click, please. For example, from the University of California, Berkeley, the European Health Psychology Society, the UK Society for Behavioural Medicine, and the Irish Canadian University Foundation. Next slide, please. However, ensuring transparency across all aspects of health research, not just behavioural, is key. And at the start of my postdoc, I started to do a lot more work in the area of open science. And I'm sure most of us here have heard of open science before, but essentially it's about early sharing and collaboration with all stakeholders to ensure that the research is as widely available, accessible, and impactful as possible, essentially helping us to bridge that gap between science and society. Next slide, please. The recent pandemic has shone a major spotlight on the need for open science. For example, a number of organisations, journals and funders signed a statement committing to provide immediate open access for peer-reviewed publications, research that is usually behind paywalls and is highly difficult to access for many. We've also seen an explosion in the use of preprints, and the need to collaborate and share data internationally has never been so apparent. Next slide, please. For my own part, I worked as part of the Cochrane Ireland Emergency Evidence Response Service, and with the Oxford Centre for Evidence-Based Medicine, we produced a series of rapid evidence reviews, click these, on personal protective equipment, making these immediately available as preprints. I also set up an open science framework page to make all associated data and materials also immediately available. Click, please. I also worked as a reviewer for the Irish initiative iHealthFacts.ie, which is an online platform to enable members of the public to fact-check health claims. I set up another open science framework page for that so that my fact-check and the underpinning research would be transparent.
1 minute.
In my opinion, science has never been so closely scrutinised. Therefore, being transparent about what we do is crucial for getting public buy-in and counteracting misinformation. So engaging the public is another important way of improving transparency and maximising research impact. Click, please. For example, in my role as Associate Director of Cochrane Ireland, I developed a video-based animation with members of the public to explain evidence reviews and their role in healthcare decision-making. Click, please. I also worked on the Cochrane International Task Force for Consumer Involvement to identify the best ways of involving stakeholders in research. Click, please. I'm also very passionate about research outreach and dissemination beyond academia. For example, as well as a number of peer-reviewed publications, I've also written a number of blog posts and organised a number of events, including a 2-day open science workshop for early career researchers, and I established Ireland's first ever Open Science Week in 2019, which we ran again this year online. Click, please. So for my next steps, I have recently been awarded an Applying Research into Policy and Practice Fellowship from the Irish Health Research Board. And this will allow me to explore and improve the transparency of research and health policy making in Ireland. And thank you very much for listening to me and for nominating me. It's been a real true honour and privilege.
Thank you very much, Elaine. And just to be clear, because you were not on the video seeing anything, you came out loud and clear, and the synchronization with the slides was perfect. So everything was smoothly. I know you were nervous before the presentation, but everything went well. Thank you. Next and last candidate for today is Maria Viñas. Maria is a postdoctoral fellow at the University of Optics of the Spanish Research Council, IO-CISIC. She obtained her BS and MS in optics and in optical engineering, as well as her PhD in physics at the Complutense University in Madrid, in Spain. Maria is now going to tell us about her research, around which she has collaborations in the US and across Europe, both with research institutions as well as with industrial research labs. Maria, your time will start now.
Good morning from hello, good morning from Madrid, and thank you for the opportunity to show my work in visual optics, which I have developed in the last years in the Spanish National Research Council and now in collaboration with Harvard Medical School via Marie Curie Fellowship. So the link between astronomy and vision is not very obvious, but the same technique that we use to improve the quality of faraway stars can be used to several applications in the eye. We have exactly the same conditions. We have a turbulent and dynamic conditions, and we need to improve the optical quality of the system by compensating of the incident wavefront. So we can apply this technique to vision, which is a very complex process where the image of an object is projected on the retina and the brain interprets that information via a process called neural adaptation, which overcomes the failures on the optical quality of the eye. And the eye is a very bad optical instrument as it suffers from monochromatic and chromatic aberrations as any instrument, but also suffers aging processes. So we need to study how neural adaptation of the brain adapts to these changes within the eye. So the technology we use inherited from astronomy is adapted optics, which allows us to modify the wavefront at the conjugate pupil plane of the eye. And we can modify it via correcting it, or we can induce like different optical correction phase maps. And we can do any visual clinical testing that we want to do by projecting the optical stimuli on the retina, and the subject or the patient will see that visual test through the corrected wavefront. This is a view of the adaptive optic visual simulators that I built during my PhD, and if you want more information, you can take a look at those references. There are many applications of adaptive optics in vision science, but the two main areas in which I have been working on are visual testing and visual simulation. So the first thing we want to know is how the brain sees the world, because the brain has an amazing capability to adapt to huge changes within the environment and the eye optics. And for that, we use neural adaptation to blur. And a fantastic example is to test adaptation to astigmatic blur. As you can see here, it degrades highly the retinal image quality, but it's also present in many ocular procedures like spectacle, intraocular lenses, or refractive surgery. So a couple of years ago, we studied how astigmats adapt to their natural astigmatism and how that adaptation of the brain changes when we correct that with the spectacles. And this has a huge impact in the clinical management of astigmatism. But now an adaptation is not only for monochromatic aberration, also occurs with chromatic aberrations. And the final polychromatic optical quality of the eye depends on the interactions between monochromatic and chromatic aberrations. But all these changes with age, and the biggest change is that we lose the crystalline lens ability to accommodate. We cannot see near anymore, and in many cases after presbyopia, a cataract follows, and we need to undergo an intraocular lens surgery. And this is a huge problem for many people because almost everybody older than 45 years old suffers from presbyopia and need an intraocular lens surgery. And this is a huge problem because latest technologies are not making the jump from laboratories to the clinical practitioners because there's a huge difficulty to explain to patients how the solutions work. And for that, we can use visual simulators since we can modify the face map on the conjugate pupil plane and explain to patients how they are going to see before surgery or before using even contact lenses. So what we can do so far is we can predict which of these designs a subject can prefer based only on their optics. And here you can see we can predict precisely for different distances which pattern is going to prefer. But we can also simulate vision with very complex optical designs. This is a bifocal design of a real commercially available intraocular lens. So we can show the patient how he or she can see
1 minute left
using this design. And the final goal of these technologies is just we can show the patient how they are going to see before undergoing a surgery, which is a really huge help. But we can also use these solutions for myopia. We can use the simulators to test these bifocal designs that have been proposed as a solution for myopia. And now we are jumping from the lab to the clinic with this spin-off, which I am co-founder. If you want to know more about my research, you can take a look at these two references. And science is not all. We need to give back to society. So for more than 30 years, I have been doing optics outreach, even writing a book on that. And I'm a fierce fighter for more equality in science. I would like to acknowledge our founders and collaborators, and of course, my co-authors and main collaborators. Thank you for your attention.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Maria. Well in time. You had 4 seconds left. So perfect timing. I can see you've trained. And thank you so much to all the candidates. I mean, be it for the postdoc, category, but PhD category. I think you all did a tremendous job. It's time now to vote, and to vote for the postdoc category. So please, could you go back then to menti.com if you're not there yet. And this time you will have the choice. Next one. Perfect. You will have the choice between Valentina Cecchini, Elaine Toomey, and Maria Viñas. Again, this is on menti.com. Nope. Just go to the next one. Yeah, it's not moving. Strange. Anyway, if you go to menti.com and you type the code 85211616, you will actually be able to vote for one of those three candidates. I will myself do it right now because me too, I get to vote. There you go, done. So you've got some time ahead of you. I'm, as I said, giving you about 3 minutes to go. We've got about 2 minutes. And here again, wonderful. We've got quite a lot of people who are voting now. So it is indeed a popular vote. And with the worry we had at the start, or before the start of the session, that we wouldn't have enough people, given that we're not actually in a room all together, it's just going away. Wonderful, people are voting. I'm seeing the results right in front of me. So again, as just a reminder, you have the choice between Valentina Cecchini from Spain and Italy, her work in chemistry, she told you that in a video. Elaine Toomey from Ireland, telling you about health science and her work with the Cochrane, for example. And the final candidate there was Maria Viñas from Spain, working on optics and biomedical physics. So 1 minute to go for the vote. It is very close, so please go and vote. Otherwise, I'm gonna have a trouble with a tie, so go ahead. I hope you all send the links to your friends and to your colleagues. It is too late now, but it is damn close. Wonderful. So a few more seconds to go. This is wonderful to see so many people joining and being able to vote on this popular prize. It's quite exciting. A few more 30 seconds left for you to vote. And just so you know, right after, I'm going to hand over to my colleague Sven Erik, who will be first handing over the prizes from the jury. And I will come back later, right after that, to let you know who won actually the popular prize. So 10 more seconds and we'll be done with this vote. There you go, it's over. So thank you again to all the candidates for a wonderful presentation. And Sven Erik, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And now I will slow down the pace a bit, as you do on occasions like this. Before I come to the jury's preferred candidate for the PhD prize. And the name of the jury winner is Michael Cosette.
Should I say a few words or?
Well, I have the occasion to say a few words and I will, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Well, it's slightly awkward in this format, but also with the my colleagues are all doing great research in their respective fields. But I guess what I'd say is a couple things about the award itself. First of all, big thanks to Impact Science for putting together these presentations. That we have a similar kind of public outreach presentation competition in Sweden, and I'll be using these slides again. So they did a great job. They really engaged with our research, which was great. But also, I think when it comes to this particular award, I I think it speaks a lot about EuroScience that it's not limited to being born in a European country. And I think that speaks to the global reach of EuroScience, but in particular, that this award isn't focused on the output of a PhD dissertation. I've applied to lots of these PhD awards that are focused only on your thesis. And I think focusing on the totality of research activities really speaks to what EuroScience is seeking to do and acknowledge. So I really appreciate the award, and congratulations to everyone involved.
Thank you very much, Michael. And I will read the argument from the jury so everybody can hear it. It will be brought on the EuroScience website when we come back from ESOP and so on. And you will receive your certificates from the Secretariat. So you will have it for life and can put it into your safe. But I will read aloud what was our argument for Michael. Although it was, as everybody has seen here with the presentations, a very, very close race. Michael Posetta is a promising young researcher in political science and media studies, who has an impressive list of activities across the 4 basic criteria that are highlighted by EYRA. This research focus on media, politics, and democracy in Europe is not only timely and relevant, but carried out on a high level, which has led to a high number of publications in prestigious publication venues. He is active in the research environment he's part of, and has organized several symposia and panel discussions at an international level. The jury also want to underline his devotion for communicating the value of his work to the scientific community, the broader public, and to policymakers. His work has been portrayed in well-known journalist platforms such as New York Times, Financial Times, and The Guardian. So congratulations to Michael Posetta. And now we are coming to the postdoc prize. Again, it was a close race with 3 very, very fascinating projects, not only in terms of advanced research, but in terms of covering all the 4 disciplines, not only because of the content of the research, but also because of the activities of the 3 candidates we have. So I will now announce the postdoc jury winner, which is Valentina Cecchini. Thank you very much. And I will again read the argument from the jury. Valentina Cecchini impressed the jury with her broad European research experience and continuous engagement in European networks. Together with her innovative approach to sustainable development goals, including smart energy, responsible production, and climate action, she integrates high-level and high-impact research with social and political importance without compromising research quality. A unique qualification which has earned her a patent already and numerous prestigious articles. Her research is at the forefront of an interdisciplinary field of the material science based on biomaterial and nanotechnology, which no doubt will make her name known in the years to come. The jury also acknowledged her strong devotion to direct engagement in public communication and scientific outreach. Congratulations, and if you want to add a few words, you're welcome to do that.
Thank you. I want just to thank the organization, the EuroScience organization and Impact Science, and to give me this possibility. And I don't have a word. I really thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I have to add that the reason why Valentina made a video was that she was not quite sure she would be able to attend, which you are.
Yes.
You are on maternity leave, and I think we should also wish you a happy maternity leave.
Yeah. Easier. It's part of this prize also.
That's a wonderful prize.
That's a very, yeah. I got a grandchild.
Thank you.
I got a grandchild on my birthday 15 years ago.
Wonderful.
So, thank you. And now
Thanks.
I will give the floor to Stefan. If you have got the numbers for the popular winners.
Absolutely. And I'm going to tweet about that baby.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
for sure. Wonderful way to do it. Yes, so back to the popular prize and to the voting that we had from the public. I am now going to announce the winner of the PhD category for the popular prize. And the winner for this year is going to be a man, that's for sure. Well, I mean, all of you were indeed men. The winner is Sophus Helle.
Unmute.
You have to unmute.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. I'm very, very happy. In my presentation, I spoke mainly about the book that I've been writing on Gilgamesh. My PhD focused on authorship in the ancient world. And the main takeaway from my PhD is that the authorship of any book is always a collaborative endeavor. Even if a book seems to have been written by one person, there are many voices and many inputs, and in the ancient world, many scribes going into it. And it's the same with this case. I have so many people to thank, more than I can mention, including everything from the organizers of the conference here to Cactus Communications, but also my wonderful advisors, Mes Rosendale Thompson and Nicole Brish, and so many friends and colleagues who've helped me. So just a huge, huge gratitude from here. Thank you so much.
Wonderful.
And of course, all the people who voted, thank you.
Thank you very much. Great. And of course, I did not prepare anything about you because I didn't know it was going to be you. So I'm glad you had a few words for that. So thank you very much, Sophus. And thanks to all of you who have voted. And thank you for the 3 candidates. Let's now move on to the popular prize for the postdoc, which, as we know, is going to be a woman. And actually, in this case, it's not going to be a woman. It's actually going to be 2 women. Because even though we had a lot of votes, we ended up with a tie. And so I have to admit, until the very end, it was very close. But the 2 winners for the popular prize for this year are Valentina and Maria. Congratulations. I don't know who wants to start. Since we had Valentina, maybe Maria, you want to start, and then Valentina can start.
I go first. Thank you. It's really amazing to win the public award. It's really cool. I really thank you, the organizers and the public to have seen what we do in visual optics and how we try to improve vision care and give back to society. And well, thank you, everybody.
Great. Valentina, another few words?
Yeah, I just want to thank you, all the people that vote for me, and also all the researchers that works with me during this year, because they help to do that, to give me this result today.
Wonderful.
Wonderful. We want to see the baby again.
Thank you very much to both of you. And Elaine, just so you know, this was damn close. And you were really, I mean, the whole time it was between the 3 of you. So again, we were lucky enough to have voted. So it's quite wonderful that we were able to have so many people voting. Thank you to all the people who were viewing and listening in today, both for the PhD category as well as the postdoc category. So thank you very much to all the candidates, and thank you to all the people who tuned in today. And to finish the ceremony and to close the ceremony, I will say thank you very much and goodbye, and I will hand over to Sven Erik.
Thank you. Will you show my PowerPoint again with the award? Yeah. Yeah. Back. No.
Coming. I love those glitches.
Back. Can you go back? No, there's something wrong there.
Sorry.
Don't worry, take your time. No stress.
The next one, the middle one, this one. Yeah, thank you. Now, no.
There you go.
On the screen, you see the. Can I start? Good. Thank you. Congratulations to the winners. And thank you to all finalists. As Stefan said, it was a close race for the Popular Prize. And I can say you as chair of the jury, it was a close race in the jury. We had to vote several times, I can reveal here. So all of you have shown a level of research quality, of European engagement, of project engagement, and of outreach, which is really a high level. For us who are senior, and I can almost say senior, it's very promising to see that we had such an amount of qualified candidates to choose between, because what we are interested is in the future of European science and European science which take into account the larger social and cultural dimension of science, both the way it's performed and the way it's applied. So, and the prize which will be given both to the jury winners and to the popular winners will be a cooperation with Elsevier Publishing Company, where you will have 1 year's free access to their platforms, and in your case, of course, the discipline-specific platforms for you. You can publish free of charge in one of the relevant journals in an ordinary peer review process, but all of you, we can see from your CVs, are very familiar with the conditions of publishing in high-level journals. And you will have a consultation with an editor in the relevant disciplines. As it is of now, that will be an online contact as far as we can see ahead, I think I can say. And Elsevier is interested in making interviews with you, which you have to be willing to, but I guess you are willing to talk about your research from now on and to Christmas at least. So that will be no problem. And you will get a message with these details from the EuroScience office. Now we know the disciplines which are involved in the prizes and the awards, both of them. We will take contact with Elsevier and they will contact us again with relevant editors or a contact person which you can communicate with. And that will happen, when we come back and the Secretariat has survived from the ISOF and so on. But rest assured, we have your names and we will not forget you. And I also want to thank the audience who have taken active part in the voting and staying in not only the fictional room which we have created on the screen, but also actively listening and making a decision on the basis of representation, because the essence of outreach is that there's somebody listening in the other end who wants to reflect upon what you are saying and able to make a decision on that background. So with these words, I think I will conclude. On behalf of EuroScience, I want to thank you that you applied in the first place, and I hope when we have the next ISOF, which will be in a different format, in 2022, that you also will help us making people apply for the awards. So we have a broad representation of disciplines, of European countries, and European universities and research institutions represented among the candidates, because that's a pleasure of being on a committee, that it is to have what in French is called l'embarras du superflu, that we have too many good candidates. And that was the case this year, as everybody has been able to see, also among the finalists. So congratulations to be finalists, congratulations to the winners, and thank you for attending to the audience.